a steel stereo.
Load him out of the fucking edge. Stick it right up to that.
I really would love to have seen it when I...
And that one there too, come be real careful around that one so you don't get any out of the machine.
No, don't worry. No. What you could do though is go out into the passageway outside the office. Probably put in one DTS and one Dolby digital, I would think, as funds permit.
I'll catch you.
gathered here tonight to celebrate the ushering in of the second century of theatre in Masterton and to join with Brent and Belinda Goodwin and their family in the opening of the new 3-cinema complex. Those of us in our 50s who've lived in Masterton all our lives have been greatly influenced by this amazing building. It was the entertainment centre of the town. Our lives literally revolved around it. And we measured the stages of our lives from the Regent Theatre. It started off, we were allowed to come on Saturday morning to the Chums Club, and then we graduated to Saturday afternoons, and then finally when we reached puberty and adolescence, our parents allowed us to come here on a Friday night. And of course it was the back row where we made some amazing discoveries about the difference between the sexes. Actually, it was not that amazing, they were usually highly exaggerated. The manager in Masterton, the manager of the Regent Theatre in Masterton in those days was seen to be the most important man in town. This was because he stood in the foyer here. He usually wore a dinner suit. He always wore a dinner suit, in fact, and he normally greeted everybody who came through the doors, and just about everybody came through the doors. And not just for cinema, the Regent Theatre, of course, was where all the best shows in Masterton were set up and portrayed. I remember Max always had their theatres shows here, and some of the great entertainers of the world came to the Regent Theatre. I remember my father bringing me here as a youngster. I think I was about 12 to see Tommy Trinder, who I still regard as the greatest comedian I ever saw, with the possible exception of Nick MacDonald, particularly tonight with a tie on. And then some of you may recall on Sunday night they used to have the Sunday night concerts. And these were another great night out for Masterton people because local entertainers put on wonderful shows, and all this of course was before television and was even before local radio. And I remember being here on a Sunday night at a Sunday night concert one night. It must have been about 1956, when the Mayor of Masterton at the time, Mr Coddington, came out and announced to the audience that Bob Charles had won the New Zealand Open. And then he went off the stage and brought back a very shy 16-year-old Bob Charles and introduced him to the crowd. And those sort of things had to happen in those days because we had no radio in Masterton. We had to listen to 2ZB in Wellington or 2YA in Wellington. And if you wanted to get anything across to people, anything that was happening in the town, you usually had to go where the people were, and it was at the Regent Theatre. The State Theatre was always second best, but only slightly, and they both theatres vied enthusiastically for our shillings and pence. The State had no stage, so they only showed films, but Kerry Jodian seemed to have the pick of the world's best movies, and the Regent was always the #1 theatre at the time. For all that, I guess the manager of the State Theatre was the second most important man in town, and for many years that mantle belonged to Wally Keel. Now, you might be interested to know how theatres work, and as much as you probably think that they hire the films, but they don't actually hire the films. What they do is they pay for the films on the number of people who actually go to them. And so they have to keep very good records from their ticket rolls as to who came into the theatre. They have to produce these to the distributors from time to time to prove how many people have seen the film, and then they pay, the owner of the theatre pays on that number. That's why you can pick up the paper often and read about how a film in America grossed 4 or 5 million over the weekend. They know exactly what the gross takings were because the gross takings have to be disclosed by each theatre to the distributor. And you would remember that the halcyon days of theatre would be in the 50s and the early 1960s before television. And in those days, of course, everybody came to the theatre probably almost once a week. But you'd be also interested to know that Brent has those records of those days, those halcyon days of the theatre, and he has almost managed to bring up the theatre-going public to the same numbers that were back in those days. He has done that with just one theatre so far, and he's done that, of course, by showing many films over one day, whereas the Regent in the old days would only show mostly one film a day, 2 matinees a week, Tuesday and Thursday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday night. Now Brent, to bring up those numbers, to get just as many people back into the theatre, has had to show a lot more films over a lot more periods, but he's done that, and we've almost got the theatre-going public in Masterton coming back to the same droves as they were back in the 50s. So that's enough of the history of the theatre. The Regent has gone state of art, and tonight you're going to see 2 magnificent theatres. And you'll all have tickets here tonight. Some of you will have brown tickets and some of you will have blue tickets. And the brown tickets is for a film called The Tin Cup. Now this is a golfing comedy and it stars Kevin Costner and Rennie Rousseau. It's a story about men and women and the games they play. Now those with blue tickets are going to another romantic comedy, another comedy. This is Barbara Streisand and Jeff Bridges, and it's called The Mirror Has Two Faces. And it's a story about just how wrong two people can be before they can be right. Now Brent wanted me to suggest to you that if you don't want to go to one theatre or the other, one film or the other, you'd rather go to the other one than the tickets you actually hold.
Wrong way around.
Let's start again. Well, let's say it's the same films, but the tickets are the wrong way around. If you've got the blue tickets, you're going to see The Tin Cup. If you've got the brown tickets, you're going to see The Mirror Has Two Faces. And if you want to swap, now we're not suggesting that you swap partners, but if you want to swap tickets, feel free to do so. Now firstly, tonight, there's one or two speeches you're going to listen to before you're allowed into these two magnificent state-of-art theatres. You're going to be absolutely amazed at what you see. You're going to be amazed at the sound. The best sound in Australasia, Brent believes, and I think that's true. You'll also find out that the theatres are air-conditioned. They're state-of-art. They're absolutely magnificent. And you'll see what a magnificent job Brent and his family have done producing these theatres for Masterton. But first, I want to call on Liz Greville, who's
Your Worship, wherever you are. Ah, there he is. Your Worship. Mrs. Francis, wherever she is. Brett, Belinda, Pierce. Ladies and gentlemen. An apology has been put in from Ken Wilton, one of the trustees of the Regent Live Theatre Trust. With the opening of these cinemas, Brent and his family see their dreams becoming reality. And we see the live theatre becoming a realisable dream. As you can see, we now have a computer-generated image of what it could look like. When you go into your little cinemas, have a look up there. We're going to put up progress reports, and as things happen, so you will see it happening. And we have 3 or 4 different images, and you will see the proposed theatre restoration from the different angles. The Regent Live Theatre Trust developed from the steering committee set up by John Maunsell and became a charitable trust late in 1994. And there are a lot of work and submissions to local and funding bodies has been done with positive responses and good results. The current situation is that the Trust and Brent are in the final negotiations of a contract towards the establishment of a unit title. We are also in receipt of a generous offer for naming rights. The Masterton District Council granted us $40,000 in their annual plan earlier this year toward the development of plans and the documentation required. Kingston Morrison were instructed yesterday to proceed with the first stage, an outline plan, briefing and rough order costings. We expect to be able to proceed to the second stage early next year. Our real work with the Friends of the Regent, with local bodies and national funding bodies, now begins in earnest. On behalf of the Regent Live Theatre Trust, I offer to Brent our heartfelt appreciation for the opportunity to restore one of Masterton's heritages, and wish him well the deserved success with his cinemas. And we look forward to continued good relations. Thank you.
Brent Goodwin, who has taken this amazing step to produce these magnificent theatres. Please give him a big hand.
Thank you. Welcome. It's nice to see so many people coming here to celebrate this occasion with us. It's the efforts of a huge number of people that have made this happen. Far too many to mention, or it'll end up like the credits of some movies that go on and on. It's the people experience that happens in this building, and I estimate there's been about 13 million go through the building in its life. that really makes this quite a special business to run. My greatest pleasure is generally in standing out here in the foyer watching the people come out of the cinemas. And sometimes they come out in tears, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're stunned, or sometimes they've just had a break for 2 hours. But it's that makes it so different from anything I've certainly ever been involved with. Which many people would like to see me in the dinner seat each time, but I think the number of sessions we run would make it a little more difficult than it was in the old days. So I'll probably remain a little casual, but occasions like this, it's nice to dress up. And hopefully, the test for me is when you come out of these cinemas, I won't tell you the technical details of what we've done. I'll let you experience them for yourselves. We believe that if we give cinema goers high quality facilities, we think we've done something quite special here, that the people will come back and come regularly because it's an enjoyable experience. I mean, in the first few years we came here, there was people coming with hot water bottles and blankets. Rain, the noise of the rain falling 40 feet onto the wooden floor was interfered with the sound of the movies. It was certainly fairly primitive, and we've still got a little ways to go. But these two theatres and the sound system and projection system we've installed upstairs, we believe gives Masterton, gives the Wairarapa, hopefully the best cinema in New Zealand. Thank you.
Before I call on the Mayor of Masterton to officially open the theatre, I think we have something from the staff of the theatre. Donna, would you like to come forward, please?
I'd just like to say, on behalf of the staff of the Regent Theatre, thank you very much for coming. It's been quite a difficult time for us in the last 6 months. It's been a bit like a war zone sometimes in here, but I think once you go through the 2 doors there, I've had a little sneak preview and it's absolutely fabulous. And I think it's a tradition when you're starting a new business, and to Brent and Belinda, this is a new business, and we, the staff, have got something that we would like to give Brent and Belinda, and we hope that they will treasure it. We've had a hand-done pen and ink drawing of the outside of the picture theatre for Brent and Belinda. Hopefully they'll hang it in their home, and when they see it every day they'll be reminded of maybe some debts that they've got to repay with all these people coming through the doors. But hopefully they'll look at it and think of the staff that are 100% behind them in this venture. I know I caught the theatre bug very much from Brent almost 3 years ago, and I'm hopefully going to be here for a long time, and I hope all of you people here will come through the doors and support Brent and Belinda's venture. Yeah.
That was really off the
Maybe
cuff.
when we paint it, we'll get a colour one.
But I didn't hear that. Brent said maybe when we...
Thanks very much, Rick, and a very fine introduction to what is a very special night and a very historic night in our town, district and region. Brent and Belinda and family, MC Rick Long. Certainly also note the presence of the architects and the engineers and the tradespeople that clearly played a very significant part in this new development over 6 months. Friends of Brent and Belinda, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly it was a pleasure when Brent rang me about 2 weeks ago and asked me if I would officiate, as I said, at this very special occasion here tonight. And Brent, thanks very much for the invitation. It's certainly a pleasure to accept. Though it has been obvious from driving along Jackson Street and Queen Street over the past 6 months that there has been considerable building activity, very few will have appreciated what was being crafted within these walls. Though I have received some feedback from Rick Long and Roddy and one or two others over this period, I have no real feeling for what we will see shortly, because I know that it's going to be quite magnificent. On behalf of everyone here tonight, I extend my congratulations to Brent and Belinda for their vision, for their enterprise and considerable initiative in investing so heavily in this project and producing in this district and region a multiplex theatre of national quality. The word entrepreneur is often used loosely to describe certain business people. I believe that with this project, Brent as an entrepreneur has invested at a level that is very high by our standards. In my reckoning, it's probably about the second or third largest investment in this district this year. The Oxford Dictionary describes an entrepreneur as a person who organises a business undertaking, assuming the risk for profit. Brent clearly has the support of Belinda and his family, but it has with this project assumed some risk that it could have been avoided quite easily by boxing along with a single theatre. I am certain that risk will be minimised as the district and region respond in significant numbers to this very fine multiplex theatre, and that the profit will be there at an early time. As you are aware, Brent and Belinda purchased this theatre in 1989, and with considerable skill and effort have built a business that has excellent and consistent support. Brent has himself had an interesting impact on the community. If you didn't know he was involved so heavily with this project, you would have thought he'd left town. There certainly will be the need to find some other project from when this one is finished. It is also appropriate to just add some comments to Liz Greville's comments about the Live Theatre project. And just confirm again tonight that the Council has supported very strongly this project. And though the two projects are separate, the completion of the multiplex theatre could be the catalyst to move forward with this project, recognising also the defined area that has now been formed through the recent work. I appreciate that the ownership and legal issues need to be finalised. However, it is important that the momentum is now maintained. Finally, I commend the Goodwins for their confidence in the future of our district, and say thank you on behalf of the community for building this new cultural facility, which provides further for a community that is showing an increasing desire to leave their television sets and enjoy this type of entertainment. At this point, along with Brent's fine son here, I'm going to have great pleasure in declaring open the new Regent 3-screen multiplex theatre.
That's the end of the formalities, ladies and gentlemen. I just remind you that if you've got a blue ticket, you're going to see The Tin Cup, which is a golfing comedy. If you've got a brown ticket, you're going to see Barbara Streisand and Jeff Bridges in a romantic comedy called The Mirror Has Two Faces. All right, this is the blue theatre, and don't mistake that for any future films that might be in there. And this is the brown theatre. And if you want to swap, make sure you pick up your own cart on the way out. Thank you.
month ago. We don't want to go and
You
see
mind
it again.
getting out of the way?
Oh, well. Thank you. On your bike.
Oh, you're alright.
Take a good picture. Take a picture of him.
Sorry.
Where should we?
Sit down about.
Yeah, I think so. We'll just let.
Be about right.
Just. Exactly. Don't worry, I'll find it.
Best thing I had all night.
You're the pickle blue. Don't go in without
Did you get me, Freddie?
Just on your thing. So you can come. Okay.
I'm on camera. This is an LBA, isn't it? Yeah.
Put the lamp on.
Yep.
I put the exciter on.
Well, it's a little bit so
It's around to what now? Right, okay, so I can dim the house lights down.
yeah, just half one. You've got trailers so you can just leave it out.
Okay.
Just let the motor
Motor.
and open the dowser and then let the changeover and yeah.
Okay.
Motor first.